So it's not quite golden hour yet. And as I mentioned before, what you want to do is use the best light. So why am I out here shooting in less than optimal conditions? Well, today's exercise is going to be a really simple one, but we want to step it up a notch when it comes to creativity and how we use light. I'm using the new Moment app and its ability to do long exposure and RAW when we shoot time lapse. And that's what I have set up here. An iPhone 11 Pro Max, and we're going to make a real simple recipe. Nothing complicated. We're going to make some cassava chips. For our subject, as you can see, we have yuca, cassava, tapioca, whatever you want to call it. And we have a peeler. That is the only tool we'll be using for this simple recipe, and a cutting board. And to shoot the whole thing, what we're trying to put together is a simple TikTok using nothing but an iPhone. Now, the iPhone is attached to a tripod that does have a right angle adapter. This is something you must have if you're going to do overhead shots of anything that you're filming. And of course, I have my really right stuff ball head. That thing is rock solid. And it is attached to a ULANZI cage for my iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'll give you a link to that in the description below. And last but not least, to make this all possible, we have a cool lens. This is actually not a Moment lens, even though we're using a Moment app. I wanted to get the Moment telephoto, but it was out of stock, and I went with Sandmark. And I have to say, I don't regret this choice. It's a great lens. I have the Sandmark with its ND filter adapter. That's going to allow me to get those long exposures, so you have a cool looking time lapse. Now, we are losing light, so I'm going to stop talking and let's shoot this thing. Speed is always of the essence, and getting something done quickly can make all the difference. Regardless of how powerful DaVinci Resolve or any piece of workstation kit is, it's the fact that it requires a workstation, even if it is a portable and affordable laptop. It's that very requirement that dictates that we follow best practice and a workflow that yields the results we're after every single time. Today, we're going to give our workstation a well-deserved break, and we'll focus on workflow and technique that does not require a computer of any kind. We are using the same iPhone 11 Pro Max that we shot the time-lapse sequences with using the Moment app. This is Lumafusion. We're going to use this app to put all of the sequences together along with some audio that we're going to pull off of Envato Elements, which is a service I use to get some royalty-free content to use, like this music here. And I'm going to tie it all together with a clip in the end here of me just basically taking a bite of this thing. So you can see there's a little bit of a sound up there mixing with our music. It's a simple project. We have about 3 time lapses, which might need to be trimmed here and there. We have a video clip with some sound up audio, and we have a music bed. And we're going to put this all together on Lumafusion to save ourselves all of the time that it would take to actually get this content onto our machine, work with it there, then output. Since 90% of the content's already on the phone, let me show you how we're going to put the other 10% in there and how we're going to put it all together. Let's start with Lumafusion. The interface is actually really straightforward. I'm looking at the vertical orientation simply because we're cutting this as vertical video, and going full screen on it is real simple. We could just double tap anytime at the image. We have our timeline visible down here, and we could just go ahead and hit play or jump through different shots, and we could preview what our piece will look like. All right, this project is pretty done here. Let's double tap on that. I'm actually going to create a new project. Over here, I have a nice little tool set of icons. If you click on anything, you'll see some of these icons will change, as these will be specific to a clip. If you click off in the gray area, you'll see a gray bar with a whole bunch of stuff. And the very first thing you see is this little plus icon that shows you all of your projects. I have a little test project, and then I have a little cassava chips project, which we just used. If you click on the plus icon, this allows you to generate a new project. We're going to call this one Chips. And I'm going to change my frame rate the resolution we're going to pick is 9 by 16 or vertical, so we don't have to put anything manual in there. You could see I have a 16 by 9 and 9 by 16. And if you scroll through some of this stuff, you'll find the 1-to-1 square. So creating a project for virtually any deliverable is extremely easy here. Again, I'm going to keep it at 24, and I'm going to go back to 916 and click on a little plus to create the project. These are the different directories that I have access to. I'm actually going to get out of here real quick and go straight into Files. Files allows me to see different directories that I have on my phone, including what I have inside of my iCloud drive. Now here's my According to Jan folder. I have a time-lapse Cassava folder in here already. As you can see, it has the 3 time-lapse sequences, an audio file, and the GH5 file, which won't play back inside of the phone natively. However, with my Lumafusion app, it can play back all the different codecs, including this log 10-bit file that I shot in 4:3 on my GH5S. It'll play back without converting it without much of an issue. Now, there might be some issues with some codecs, but I've had no issues with just a few files on the phone. So I'm going to start by creating a new directory here. I want to clean this up. I want to show you how I got everything in here. So let's go back to this directory. Just click and hold in the empty space, choose new. I'm going to call this folder chips. Right? And chips doesn't have anything in it. It's kind of empty right now. So we're going to populate chips with a couple of things. First, let's go back to the Moment app that we used. And inside the Moment app, we should have all of the different time lapses that we shot. I'm only interested in the ones we're using for this Cassava piece, which is going to be our main time lapse. So I'm going to choose Export. Let's keep it as an high efficiency video codec, maximum resolution, highest quality, and we can output that at 24. Let's go ahead and export that. And once we're ready to save, what we're going to do is choose Save to Files, and we're going to choose our chips folder. Again, we could change the name of this thing. I could call this chips TL01 for my time-lapse 1. This is going to be number 2. Export. Keep it high efficiency video codec, max, high, 24, export. And let's do that one more time for the last clip. Again, high efficiency video codec, max, high, 24. Let's go ahead and export that as well. And one more time, we're going to choose Save to Files. It's going to go into chips. Let's output that. That's going to be called chips TL03. Done. Save. Now let's take a look into our files directory. Make sure we put everything in there. I have chips 1 and 3. Now by default I had this thing selected, so chips went to the wrong place. So it's not that difficult to just select and move something. So I'm going to move that into my chips directory now. And hit move, and now you can see it's moved from my Cassava folder into here. So if you accidentally put it in the wrong directory, it's not the end of the world. I like to keep things a little organized. Now, if you have the file downloaded, like I have here for my music or any of this stuff, that's straightforward. Because you do have Panasonic's little image app, which I'm going to show you a whole lesson on how to utilize, you can send the file from your Panasonic directly to here, or in this case, I just saved it on a computer where I downloaded it. Same thing with the music. I'm using something called Envato Elements. And if you log into Envato Elements, you'll see there's a variety of different assets that they have here. And what I'm using, I have an account, but we could go browse. I'm going to their music. And you could find a variety of different songs you can use, which are all royalty free. Great little service, about 33 bucks a month. You get a variety of different content that you can utilize, including stock music, but also stock video, templates, graphics, web templates, you name it. These guys have a whole bunch of content, and you get a lot of bang for your buck. So assuming we downloaded this clip, we could download directly to there. I'm just going to select this clip as well here. And what we can do is actually select a bunch of these clips. So if you choose select, you could select the audio and the video clip we want, right? And I'm just going to go ahead and move these to, we can just copy these if we don't want to mess up another project. So I'm going to go ahead and copy, and let's find the folder in here that we want to put it in, our chips folder. Click and hold and just choose paste, and that's going to put the 2 clips in there for us. If we want to rename these clips, that's fine too. You can rename these clips. If you click and hold the clip, you get a little pop-up. I'm going to choose rename, and in our rename, we're going to call this chips sound up. You hear me saying something cool like these chips are awesome or something, that's cool, and we'll leave the song the way it is. So we have all of our assets. We're now ready to put. I'm going to switch back to Lumafusion. You need to get this app. If you're going to be doing any kind of content creation and all you have is an iPhone, this is a great app. It's not a free app. So if you go to the App Store and you search for Lumafusion, you'll find a wonderful app right there. Now, of course, it doesn't show you a price tag on mine because, well, it's already paid for and I own it. But it's about 30 bucks, I believe. If you're going to create content on the iPhone, this is the app to use for putting it all together. Okay, let's get back to the app. As you can see, I have folders in here, but I'm going to just click on, you'll see you have other things you can choose from, like other sources. So you can add a variety of sources, including devices like a Narbox or the Western Digital device, or you can use different libraries like photos, for example, and anything you have in your photo library, including all of the videos that you shot with your built-in app, all of that's going to be in there. So you have lots of ways of getting stuff in here. What I want to do is I want to focus right here on files. I'm going to add a directory by clicking add link to a folder. And I'm going to choose my chips folder here. Just hit done. And now I'm going to have this folder at the top of my files all the time. So anything that I have inside of that project will automatically appear here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to kind of lay this out in storyboard fashion, one clip after the other. And since I named them as such, time-lapse 1, 2, and 3, I know they appear in that order. So organizing things helps. I'm going to double-click on each of the clips that I want in there. There's 1, double-click on 2, double-click on 3, and then finally I'm going to double-click on sound up in the end. And let's go ahead and just watch what we have here. If you scrub through this timeline, you can go to the beginning or the end of the clip. If you scrub through here, you'll see everything in our timeline. If you pinch, you could zoom in or zoom out to see all your clips, right? And you could see you could put clips above or audio down below. I do have my audio, which is Walk Through Life, so I can just click on it to hold it and drag it to drop it right in there. So I have my music and my audio, and everything is essentially laid out. Let's just double click on this and see what's going on. Well, you see it doesn't start on the hit right away. Not the perfect starting point. We'll need to trim that. Some dead space. Some more dead space. A lot of dead space. A lot of dead space. Okay, well, let's work on that. We'll get to that part. I must have shot a lot of dead space on that particular time lapse. Let's start by trimming this thing. You can see there's a lot of audio at the end here where you have no video whatsoever. So it's as long as the entire song now because we dragged the whole timeline. So double click on here. It's going to go back on here. You could always scroll through here and you can see I'm going to position myself close to the end of this audio and just make sure it's selected. You can click on that and you could select the audio, delete that. Same trick we were using before in terms of cutting, pasting, deleting. We're going to basically use this almost the same exact tool set that we used in DaVinci Resolve on our first video in here. So let's first zoom way in here and see what's going on. For one, I could see my audio doesn't really start too far, and because trimming is so precise sometimes you just want to zoom in, maybe find the cut point, and boom. Let's cut that, and let's get rid of that audio right there. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to find the hit on this, right where my hand comes in. That's kind of where I want this to start. So with my video selected, again, I'm going to cut that, select the first clip. Let's get rid of that. Now, notice what happened here. My audio disappeared. This is the same kind of behavior that you will find in Final Cut Pro. If you delete a clip that has clips connected to it, they'll go with it. So let's undo that. You can see this audio clip is attached to this particular clip. So I'm just going to move this, right? It doesn't need to be attached to that clip first. If you just move this right on top of that clip where you want it attached, now it's attached to that new clip, and now we can delete this particular clip and not worry about that audio going away. Let's go ahead and play that. Okay, so right around here, see that dead space? I want to get rid of that. Again, I'm going to zoom in. Let's go ahead and find out where that plate is gone. Select the clip that I want to do the edit on, do a cut there, and I'm going to continue on to where I come right back in. So a lot of that dead space right there, let's just cut that out. I'm going to select that clip and delete it. Let's play that back. That's cool. We have a similar situation with this particular tray here where there's a lot of dead space. We'll stop right around there. Select the clip, hit cut. Let's scroll a little bit forward. Right around there. Cut again. Select that clip, press the delete trash can icon, and let's watch those cuts right there. Okay, now there's a lot of dead space there. We don't need that. Let's go ahead and find where it actually stops. Right around there. Actually, I want to see some action first. Okay, so my hand is kind of getting the last one there. That's my cue. Select that clip, press cut, and let's go ahead and delete tail of that clip. And let's see what's happening here with this particular audio. So I do need this sound up, but I want to hear it while I'm still seeing the chips, right? Let's see what we have here. First of all, can we even hear it? I can't even hear myself. As I play this back, you can see the audio, the music, really loud. It's actually redlining right there when we look at the meters. Way too hot for what we're doing in video. So what I want to do is I want to double click on the audio, right? And it's going to bring me into an audio editor. I'm going to bring down my levels right around -10 or so. Close enough. And you could still hear it, but you could see your levels are no longer redlining. You're down to something normal for music. And since this is mostly a music piece, I'm not going to go too far, but we are going to need to add some other sound to this and make sure it mixes well. So let's go to the end here, right? Where I have this clip. And kind of when I walk out right around here after I bite, that should be the cut there. We don't need it after that. So let's select that clip. Let's cut that. And let's delete what's remaining there. Now, it will be easier for me to split these two apart so I could work with the audio separately from the video. So I'll do just that. I'll click on this icon right here. And you can see these clips are connected. So if I do click on this and move it, they will travel together. However, I still have the ability to work with the audio separately here. So I'm just going to double click on that. And let's go ahead and crank the levels up on that. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Let's see what it sounds like. It's still a bit low. Right? I like it to go a little bit higher. So what I'm going to do with this particular clip, you see if I double click on this clip right here, I can't go any higher. 12 is as high as it goes. Now you do have a whole bunch of filters on here that you can use, and I'm sure you can EQ this. You can do a lot with the parametric EQ. I'm going to do something a lot simpler than this. Let me just get out of here. I'm just going to select this clip, and I'm going to duplicate it so I have the same exact sound, except I'm going to bring this directly underneath. Might need to zoom in to make sure they line up, but they should snap together. And when you play it now, that was great. That did exactly what we wanted. It doubled up on the volume. We still have things happening here. However, I'm going to zoom in here, and what I want to happen is I'm going to click on this clip, and I want to trim just the video, but I want the audio to come in when we're still looking at that time lapse. So right at the edge here, I'm going to put my finger down. I'm just going to trim. As you can see, my audio is kind of staying in place, but I'm rippling or trimming just the video part of that. And what I have is a split edit. So the audio comes in before the video. Oh, these are delicious. Great. Except we have a little bit too much music still here. So let's go ahead and select the audio we don't want. And again, I'm going to press cut, get rid of that. Let's play this back one more time. The audio just cuts out there, and that's never ideal. Having it fade out would make it feel a little more natural. So I'm going to double click on the audio, and it's going to bring us into the audio editor. And right here, the first word you'll see is volume. You'll see a triple circle icon that has a little plus on it. Make sure you're on the very last frame of your video. That's important because otherwise it's going to not dip when you want it to. And I'm going to click on that icon, and that's going to give me a second circle, which now allows me to delete that keyframe if I don't want it. You can see a little blue icon pops up over there, and that is the keyframe we created. If you move a little bit earlier in the timeline, I'm going to move about a second or so, maybe a little bit longer if you want, maybe about a second and a half, 2 seconds right there. And you can see my little blue bar there. Again, I'm going to click on the little plus icon, and that's going to give me a second keyframe. Now, nothing's actually happened except that we recorded different values in these places where these keyframes are. And the values that we recorded are for volume. And you can see volume is at minus 10 dB. So nothing's going to change. But I'm going to go to my last keyframe now. You can see I can go to the last keyframe. And I'm going to now bring it down to all the way minus 90 dB. So if you scroll through here, you'll see that it's at minus 10 dB, and when it gets to the end, it's at minus 90. So by creating those two keyframes, we've allowed the software to gradually fade out from minus 10 to minus 90 over the course of about a second and a half, which is how far these keyframes are apart. Let's go ahead and hit the back key, and we could scroll through here a little bit, hit play, and see what that looks like. Much more natural. If we zoom in here, I'm just going to pinch to zoom in, you could see there's a little dip happening on that track. And that's a visual indicator that we've actually animated our volume. Now, a couple of things left to do on here, and that is to color correct. So I'm going to double click on this clip first and click on original for my color correction. You can see I already had a color correction on there that I've messed around with a little bit. And by hitting original, it went back to what the native color here is. And simply, we can just click on levels here and play with those, change the brightness of our clip, increase the contrast. If we scroll through here, you'll find some saturation and vibrance and your highlights and your shadows. So you can actually do some nice correction, including change the balance of this. I'm gonna add a little magenta, a little red, a little yellow, not that much red, a little bit more magenta maybe. And let's see what else we have. We have the ability to shift our gamma a little bit. So again, not DaVinci Resolve for color, but if you need to get color quickly, this is a great little setup, and you can actually click on this little star, save the preset, use it as often as possible. You have a whole bunch of different presets that are already built in, so you don't have to create your own. If you don't know anything about color correction, just try what's there. There's a lot of great stuff to work with. Now, I'm gonna just back out. I'm gonna show you one more thing with color correction. So this particular clip I've already color corrected as well. And you could turn the correction on and off just by clicking a little eyeball there, which is really cool. See, it was a little green before and, well, looks pretty horrible here. And again, to fix that, real simple, I'm just going to go ahead and select that and show you what I did here. All I did was change my color balance, add a little bit more red, more magenta, more yellow, and gave it more of that particular look. And I'm going to back out from here as well. And with this clip selected, right, you can actually click on this icon right here. That's the attribute clipboard. I'm going to choose copy. Now, all the attributes for that clip have been copied. I can select another clip like this one, or let's just zoom in and not skip one, like this one right here as well. And notice how you have now the icon right here that you can click on again for my attributes clipboard. Instead of copying, I can now paste attributes. And I could paste different attributes. I just want to paste my color correction, right, which is right there. And if I paste that, all of my color features will come across. Same thing is true with this clip. If I do that to this particular clip, I'm going to go ahead and paste my color attributes and make sure, well, this particular clip can use the same effect, I believe. Yeah, that looks good. How about this one? Let's go ahead and paste that. Let's watch that one more time. All right, that's great. Now we need to actually get it on to TikTok or Instagram or wherever we're putting this thing on. So I'm going to go ahead and export this file from here. Now I'm going to click on the gray area to get to our main bar here and click on the share icon, and you can see we can actually do a lot here. If we kept everything on iCloud and we decided, you know what, that color correction sucks, I want to go into DaVinci Resolve and do some more work in there, I could just spit out XML and now have a project that I can import with all of my cuts into DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to do the video portion, and I have the ability to go straight to YouTube from here, which is great, or I could use Other App or AirDrop, which is what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to Other or AirDrop here, and this is going to give me the capability of outputting the resolution that I want, right? So I'm going to output this in standard 1920 by 1080, right? That's going to be that. My video quality is going to be set to the highest that I can set here as well. And let's see, what else do I have here? Audio quality, video codec. You can use high efficiency video codec. This will give you a better quality, but it's less compatible. Or you could use H.264, which is something that we're, well, quite used to. And I have all of my notifications coming up on there. So it's going to tell you how long it's going to take to export, how much size you have there, all that beautiful stuff. Once you're ready to output the file, click on Export. You could give it a name. We'll give this an actual Cassava chips time-lapse recipe. And we'll hit done. At this point, all we have to do is hit export and watch it write. All right, now it's going to ask us where to actually put this file. Since I'm uploading most of my files from here, though, I want it to be accessible through an album in my photos so I can use this device very quickly. So I'm going to just choose this to save it to a shared album. Cassava chips, just so I have that info on there. And I can choose, I have something here called social media assets, which is where I put a lot of my content. And I'm going to go ahead and post it to that. Now, the reason this is great is if I am working in a team and somebody needs to post this, I don't have access to my TikTok, I just want to finish this in the field and go on to do something else, someone can check and look at their photos shared library. As soon as it's there, it's going to pop up and it'll be visible. So if you're using any device, like Photos, for example, and you go into your albums and you have your shared social media, there's my social media assets, and you'll see it has one photo and two videos in here, and there is the video that I just output. So let's go ahead and watch that. Let's assume we're done and all we want to do is get this out there on TikTok. I'm going to open up TikTok. I've actually posted this clip on here already, and this is the one that I cut in DaVinci Resolve. And what I want to do is I want to post the same exact thing, but this one was edited in Lumafusion. I'm going to have it up there as well. Now, one mistake that I did make is I usually start my projects on black when I'm cutting video. And you can see there's no thumbnail here. So even though I have 474 views on this thing, there's no thumbnail. That sucks. So I had 28 likes and 3 followers, and I just posted this thing and I didn't even try to promote it. So you can see TikTok is an incredible platform for posting content. I'm going to click on post. That's my little icon right here. And you can see you can upload a clip, and I am going to definitely do that. Let's go into my albums, right? So you can have all of your different albums and the things you're working on here. And here's my social media assets. There's that clip. I'm going to hashtag FUP, right? We're also going to do hashtag for you page. So these are great. FUP or for you page, there's a couple of variations on here. This is going to be a great way to have everybody see this. You want this thing to go viral. You want it to be seen.